This podcast, we interview Ben, the creator, and we talk about overcoming depression, having faith in God, and the power of the podcast. You don't want to miss this. Today we have Ben Gutierrez. You're a podcast enthusiast, right? You're married with 2 children.
Yep.
So what else you got going on, Ben? I mean, this is our first time meeting. I'm so glad to have you on here. Maybe I should do that over, huh?
No, it's fine. Let's do it. I always improv. I think that's the cool thing about this this whole podcasting. I've been watching. I think it's like 2 Friends on a Podcast, or like, do you remember Bobby Lee? Do you remember Mad TV? So Bobby Lee was like this Asian guy, like he's a comedian and he has a podcast. Okay. And every time that he started his podcast, they just, what we were doing right now before he started hitting the record button, they just talk.
Yep.
And then out of nowhere, he just says, "All right, well, here's the guest," and then the music starts like in the middle. But there's literally about 5 to 7 minutes of monologue in the beginning. It's dope. So I mean,
it keeps it real.
Yeah, it keeps it real. So I kind of, if I mess up, to be honest, like I don't even edit it out unless it's like super horrible. Then I'll have my team take care of it. But for the most part, I just leave it, man. Just keep on going, dude.
Yeah. I like it. So I mean, you're a content creator. Like that's what you do. That's what you're good at, and you've turned it into kind of a business.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, I guess this has been something going on for. I'm gonna be honest, dude. Before I came here, I was super nervous.
Why?
Being in a podcast, ironically, right?
What? Hold on, you haven't done none?
I've never been a guest.
Oh,
this is my first. This is the first time I'm gonna be a guest. Overall, I think I done. I want to say about over 50 interviews.
That's awesome.
And don't get me wrong, like about 35 of them were short 7 to 12 minute interviews.
That's okay.
And the rest were like long form. But overall, like how this whole thing started, and just a heads up, guys, like I'm an emotional person, so if I cry, it's cool. Like it's what I do.
Get the tissues.
Yeah, get the tissues, please. But overall, like I'm an emotional person. But like here's the thing. So years ago, I got into the world of real estate. Like I got my license, and at that time, I was trying to figure out a way to stand out. And it was when a couple years after the recession happened and houses were selling for $80,000, $60,000. And I started going online on YouTube, and I would see agents do video tours of houses, but it was all in the East Valley.
Okay.
I grew up in Maryville. Like, I was in the hood.
I grew up in Maryville.
and most of the listings out there were selling for $60,000, $80,000. The commissions were looking at $1,500 to $2,500. And at that time, the iPhone 13, 14, the wide angle lenses, TikTok, Instagram wasn't as popular as it is now. You couldn't be able to use your camera phone.
Now, how long ago was this? Like,
dude, 2014
to 14. All right, so like 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was an iPhone, 7? 6,
yeah, exactly. 5, dude. The iPhone 4 or 5.
Was the camera black and white?
Practically, right. But overall, I started looking into the equipment, and now I was complimenting your GX6. Well, I got a GH4, and I got the wide angle lens, I got the gimbal, and I went to YouTube University, and I learned how to do video tours of houses. When I brought this up to my old brokers, old peers, real estate peers, at that time, everybody said, "Ben, that's stupid. Why are you going to spend $9,000-$10,000 on that stuff? Go door knock, go hand out flyers, like go do open houses." And I'm like, "Nah, dude, there's something here that it's an untapped market." Well, I got into it. I saved a couple commissions. I bought it, and within 90 days, I picked up like 3 listings, and I made my money back. And ever since then, I started creating content, and I think it was like around, I want to say about 6-7 years ago, TikTok, Instagram blew up. Agents, the camera phones on phones got a lot better, and people started creating content. It's so relevant now and common. Well, 5 years ago, I decided to start a media company. Well, I had a guy that worked for me, and some stuff happened, and unfortunately there were some people that got in his ears, and before I knew it, I got canceled because this guy came at me saying, "Hey man, I want to own half the company," and I go like, "Yo, I bought all this office equipment, all this camera equipment, and like I'm $12,000 in, dude. Like, you're getting paid to edit and shoot." Well, he got some bad advice, and unfortunately, he decided to start his own company. Which there was nothing wrong with that, but he ended up taking clients from me, and he started spreading lies, and I got canceled before it was cool. Right now, like you can't say God, and people get offended. You know what I'm saying? Like so, all glory to the Lord, man.
This is back in 2019.
Yeah, this was damn, we're in 2023. Like 2018.
2018.
Yeah, I knew him for a good solid 6-7 years. I consider him a friend, and that really set me back. And there was some other stuff going on personally with my family, and I went through depression, dude. Like I was suicidal.
Wow.
I remember, dude. I still remember at my lowest, I I was negative in my bank account. And it was like $30-something. It was the overdraft fee, and I said, man, if I drive to Wells Fargo, I have a friend of mine. He could reverse the fee. He's a general manager there, and I didn't call to make sure he was there. And I get there, and I'm like, hey, is Renee here? And he was like, nah, he's not. I was like, all right, cool. And I walk out with a smile. I get in the car, and I'm like, my car, the gas meter is like on E, and I'm looking at it, and I start screaming in the car, start banging it, and I go like, Lord, like God, like why are you doing this to me? Like I don't get it. Like these people like that were around me, all I wanted to do was just be of value to others and support, and why is this happening? And I just started like banging and screaming in the car, and I'm driving, and I was like by the 303 when they were building out these like the freeways and whatnot, and there was like a overpass, and I'm driving, dude, and I'm looking at it, and I go, I could easily just fucking let go of the steering wheel, dude.
Yeah.
And just end it. Like hopefully I flip the car where like it lands on its head, and I just get crushed and I die, dude. And I don't really think like I talked about it, but like I haven't gotten in detail like this, like at least this deep. So, but yeah, man. So, and it felt so real because like at that time, it was only like 20 seconds, but it felt like an eternity when I had those thoughts in the freeway, and I grab the steering wheel, and I'm like about to let it go, and I start thinking my fiance was pregnant at the time with my little one. Today's his birthday, and I said like, no, I can't do that to her. I have my oldest from a previous relationship, and I can't leave him. I can't leave her. And I grabbed the steering wheel, and I came back. And then the rest is just kind of like, it was a journey, man. Like I dealt with that for a while, and I overcame depression, and you know, I give all glory to the Lord, dude. Like my son, I remember when my fiance was pregnant, I would talk to him because I would have anxiety and I couldn't sleep, and I would just talk to him and whisper to him and saying like, hey, like I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna be there. And I remember, dude, like, and I would just touch her stomach and he would kick. And it was our thing, dude. Like at 2 a.m, bro, like we'll just have conversations. And I say this, and today on the post I shared with this picture is like I said he saved my life. That's why his name is Kal-El, like the last son of Krypton, Superman. That's been my hero since I was a little kid. And yeah, man, he saved my life. And fast forward a couple of years, like I did great in real estate. I did phenomenal with my real estate career. I became a listing agent. I rarely had to work. I made good money because of my marketing. About a year ago, everything shifted with the market. Interest rates went up.
Yeah, it's different.
Business slowed down, and overall like thing, I need to shift things. And I was like, all right, I got to get into a different market because the people that I grew up with, my sphere, they're getting, what is it? Like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're getting, they can't afford, they can't afford the prices right now with the rates and the prices of homes. So what can I do to connect with people that potentially could still buy in this market? Business owners, entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start a podcast. Like I have all this camera equipment that I haven't used in years because of technology. I was just using my phone, a little mini gimbal to do house tours. And that's all I needed for great marketing. And I had all this equipment and I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. And I hit up my mentor, Steven, at the time. And I told him like, hey, I'm starting the show. I want you to be my first guest. This guy worked with Tony Robbins for 10 years. Nice. He was one of the head speakers, and it would be great to kind of like have him as my first guest. And I did. At the time, I started looking into editors and I started outsourcing some stuff out. And one of my friends was like, dude, imagine if you would have had this knowledge back then. Like none of that shit would have happened. I'm like, you're right. In 9 to 12 months, I'll start my business again. Maybe, potentially. I was scared. And then I told Steven the same thing. Well, the mindset shifted. I got a listing and I was like, heck yeah, like I'm going to make 10 grand in the next 30, 40 days. Well, the lady, a couple of days after I got the listing, the lady calls me saying, hey, Ben, we need to cancel. My son's coming from Mexico and we need to cancel the listing. I'm like, damn. Okay. Well, the same day, early other day, I got the opportunity to work with this wholesaler company, a big guy. And he told me, he said on Facebook, hey, I need some support with this. What do you guys think? And I gave him some advice. I went in there. He told me that everybody he's worked with, they were telling him that you should script stuff, and he just didn't like it. So I said, well, why don't you do this? What the real Bradley does and all these big coaches do. All they do is just have a guy on the side, ask him questions. It's like, hey, what do you think about like so-and-so about wholesaling or whatever? Like, what are the benefits? And he'll just give an expert advice, and then you just splice it. Well, he loved it, and he offered me an opportunity. He offered me a job, and I said, hey, I'm not looking for that. And he says, well, help me record content. And we worked for a couple months about a month and a half. And he kept me afloat. He's a blessing, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. And we went separate ways, and that's kind of how I got here. And everything evolved.
Can we go back a little bit? I want to go back to, and I know it's an emotional time.
Yeah.
This whole depression thing.
Yeah.
Man, we get hit with so much, right, in life. Mm-hmm. It sucks. Like, how old are you?
35.
35. So I'll be 43, and I grew up in Maryville as well. I moved there in 1990. 1990. And just like we grew up poor, right? I grew up poor. I think you grew up poor if you grew up in Maryville,
for the most part, yeah.
Right? And so so you have this rough life, and you get into this drought, and you feel this depression, and you literally said that you had the thoughts of killing yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, what did you allow? And this is for the listeners and for me to understand is. Which two questions is one was what did you allow to happen to get you to that point? And two, what did you change to get you away from that point?
All right. Number one, I lean towards God, like my faith to the Lord. And I'm consistently, I really don't care what anybody thinks about that. We were talking about this right before we were recording about how people are intimidated by saying I respect everybody out there, but I'm a man of faith. Number one, I think that's where I lean. The other thing when it comes to mindset is I believe is the fact that people don't know how to let go. Yeah. And if you could master the art of letting go, you're indestructible. Mm-hmm. Like you can't, like if a business meeting happens and something goes wrong, just let it go. It's It's not yours. Like, it is what it is. Like if you truly believe, and if you're, I mean, especially if you're a man of faith, like that everything's going to be okay. Like let go.
Yeah.
And this applies like to anybody that has dealt with depression, and from when you hear stories about why they died by suicide, that this is something that I learned with a good friend of mine. She's a therapist, and you know, people that commit suicide, it's like when you say die by suicide, because it is a mental health issue. It's like a disease, and people don't realize that depression is a what's the word, a symptom of something going on mentally with your brain. And so I use a word, and this is what I learned from her. It's like, you know, when people die by suicide, it's because of something they couldn't let go for the most part. And it could be they couldn't. So like, all right, like if you hear stuff on the news, or you hear stories about how a husband gets divorced, the wife leaves them with the kids, and they can't let go of the fact that they can't let go of that marriage. And they feel the only answer is
Death,
to end it.
die.
You know, like for me, at the time, I couldn't let go of the betrayal with what that person did to me, and the betrayal with some other stuff without putting my, you know, my laundry out there, like with some other stuff with my family. I couldn't let go.
Yeah.
And that was it. So now I actively practice the art of letting go.
Yeah.
And my mentor, Steven, says 90 seconds of suffering and let it go. Whatever that is, anger, depression, or sadness, or whatever, like just let it go. Like allow yourself freaking cry, be pissed, punch a wall, not a wall, but you know, whatever like you need to do, and just let it go, man.
Yeah. It's like let go and let God.
Yeah. Amen.
That's the problem. I don't know if Stephen's a man of God, but you got to have something bigger to believe in when there's nothing to believe in, you know, because when we're going through challenging times, people, us, you, I, whoever, it feels like you're alone.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you have no one, that's when people get depressed, right? You're all alone. You're stuck. You're done. You have no one to run to, no one, you know, no one to cover you, no one to protect you in your mind. There could be everyone all around you.
Yeah.
But if you know, if there's a higher power, a higher being, you know, our God, then we can run to God, right? And I think that's something you learned possibly. I think so, right?
I did.
And I would say you probably hold on to that, right?
Oh, I do.
Because I mean, we go through it. You know, I've been in business since 2009.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, the last 4 or 5 years we've had an average of over 100 employees, and it gets hard, right? You know, especially when, you know, when I lived a bad life. I was a drug addict for 10 years straight. I wasn't homeless for 10 years.
Yeah.
I was a drug addict for 10 years straight. And at one point I was homeless, but being an entrepreneur and trying to create this lifestyle and creating a legacy and starting a new, like you're the break in the Maryvale era. You know, you're trying to break that, and you're trying to say, hey, I want my kids to have a better life and all these things, right? It's harder than living the bad lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's harder than doing the bad things, just trying to be good, right? And so when we have something to believe in, and this is why I tell people why I go to church, I say it all the time, is the fact that I can go to church and I can listen to praise and worship or pray or read a scripture. That's therapy for me, because the alternative is not good, right? So I love the fact that you're like, hey, I found God. Got dove deeper, you know, and you got out of it, because, man, depression's terrible. I was depressed for a few times, you know. Thank God I got out of it. Thank God you got out of it, you know, because like you got your kids, right? Yeah. And when you're, was it your son that you're with your wife? It's a son.
The youngest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he would kick.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad, I'm here. Just relax, right? I'm here. You know what I mean? And those are signs from God. It's like he didn't even know that he was gonna be this thing, you know. But he's like, I'm here, you know. And you start learning and listening, like, why this, why that, and then, You know, how old is he now?
He just turned 4 today physically.
Yeah, it's 4, right? Yeah, his birthday. Yeah, so and he's a miracle.
Yeah, he is.
You know, your wife's, you know, your angel.
Yeah.
You know, I think like God gives us angels, right? There's always like a covering. We always think it's like someone dead.
Yeah.
Right? Like a guardian angel or something. But I think it's someone alive that's always closest to us.
Yeah.
Because they're there to protect us, right? That's an angel.
Yep.
Your angel guards you, your guardian angel. They guard you, they protect you, right? And that's usually if you have the right spouse. It's your spouse. You know, God gave you an angel, your wife, and he gave you the miracle.
Yeah.
Your lifesaver.
Yeah, man. I truly believe that. Especially in my current journey in my life, and I'm going to even say it's like a hybrid of business and life, where the people that I'm surrounding myself with, I truly believe that the Lord is putting the right people around me, and he's using them as these people to pour into me and giving me the opportunity to learn skill sets that I didn't grow up with.
Yeah.
I went to San Luis in Mexico, and I was visiting my godmother, and I was telling her she's a Christian, and I was telling her everything that's happening, that all these people that I've been able to connect with, influencers, millionaires, coaches, and they're all pouring into me, man. And I truly believe that the Lord has something big planned for me, that he told me that in a dream that the floodgates are going to open, and financially I'm going to be wealthy. He's going to make me a millionaire, but he says like, hey, you're going to get that wealth, and you're going to create opportunity. It isn't just for yourself, and you're going to like take care of yourself and your family, but you're going to create opportunity, and then also to give glory to the Lord.
Yeah.
Like, so like I'm not ashamed of it, dude. And I say this proudly, man. Like I truly believe in everything that happens. Like I believe in my soul that it happens for a reason. Like us meeting right now, the way we're connecting, this conversation, like there's a reason for it. Mm-hmm. Like I know you're building your platform, and you're building out your brand. Like, and I'm on the same path, dude. And you know, we're gonna collab, share this content. We're gonna put the right piece of content out there with your editing team, and we're gonna put it out there, and someone's gonna hear something that you say that's gonna make an impact. And I truly believe that we live in a time that we could leverage social media in a positive way to make a difference.
That's the key and that's why I started this is, you know, there's a few reasons why I started the podcast is, you know, to build relation, right? To learn from others, right? And to sow seeds of content.
Yeah.
You know, because like you said, is we can use this platform to say, hey, here's what I did to become better. If I can do it, you can do it. If they did it, you can do it. If, you know, and we got to give people that opportunity to listen, and then, you know, hopefully they can put those pieces together in their life and say, okay, here's what I heard here. Here's what I heard there. Here's what I seen here. Let me try this. Right. Because that's the thing. It becomes a tool. Right. So you watch a lot of podcasts because you know all the names.
Yeah.
So I do too. Right. As well. I watch a lot of podcasts or listen to them. And it's like, if I can grab something from here, something from this guy, something from that guy, we put it all together. Now we have this tool chest of just great information that we can use when we go to battle.
Yeah.
Right. I love it. I love it. So you're in the podcast world. You're taking all this like love and joy for videography and photography, and you've literally transitioned and said, hey, now are you still doing real estate? Not really.
Yeah, no. We'll say like 1%.
Too boring, right?
Yeah.
You got to get a deal. Go get a deal. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, real estate's good, but being an agent is different. That's what you were. We're an agent. Right?
Yeah, I was an agent, but it's you know, I'll definitely, any friends and family, like I'll take care of them, but I'm not actively doing any marketing whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah. And so you're just strictly podcasting, using social media, to like as a tool to get out there to teach and to reach. And I mean, what's some of the content you're making and putting out there, and you know, what does that look like? in your world?
Well, so to me, as an entrepreneur, so my company, we specialize in our niche is podcasting.
What's the name of your company?
Monumental Heart Media.
Monumental Heart
Media.
Media.
Mm-hmm. And just, a quick story with that. When I was thinking of a name, I wanted something to represent me. So growing up as a kid and as an adult, I heard the word, Ben, you have a big heart. So I was all right, cool. Like at first I was thinking Big Heart Media, but apparently there's a media company in the UK. And then I was thinking, all right, what's something bigger? Monumental. Great. Got that one. And then Monumental Heart Media, heart represents me because I have a big heart, but also too, it represents God. Like I incorporate that in the middle of it, because in the middle of all my business, the business started because I had faith. So, and then obviously media content stuff, but that's how the name started. But overall, we specialize in content creation, podcasting. We take the long form, we convert into short form content. And one of the things and we also have we do the teleprompter scripting stuff, and we coach people how to create video hooks and whatever they're trying to sell, and this is what we do. But overall, like one thing that I want to do different when it comes to podcasting compared to other companies out there is I coach people how to leverage it in the sense of how to create relationships, how to create opportunities. Yes, it's super awesome that you could go record something for an hour and get 2 to 3 weeks worth of content and not come back to a studio because you have already content out of that podcast. But in the sense of, okay, well, how could I get an instant results or I wouldn't call it a sell, but like out of something that you could do now, which with podcasting, which is you could create opportunities in the sense of start relationships with people that you normally wouldn't do. In the world of entrepreneurship, business, and then for me in real estate, you always hear, hey man, like can I buy you a cup of coffee? Or let me take you out to lunch. I want to pick your brain. And to me, when I was in real estate and lenders would call me and do the same thing, I'm like, dude, like I'm good. And they'll come at me saying, hey, well, I could do a flyer for you, a digital flyer. And I'm like, and at the time I was doing video tours or I would do video promos for listings or for open houses. And I'm like, oh, dude, this doesn't really bring value. So now I focus on like, how could we be of value to others and the value proposition that you bring to the people that you're trying to connect. Like, okay, so if instead of you calling somebody and saying, hey, I want to do coffee, I want to pick your brain, you could tell them like, hey, I have a podcast show. I interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and we'll use this scenario as a in the real estate industry because that's the world I know the best because I've been there for years. I'm a loan officer with XYZ company. I heard a lot of great things as a realtor. I want to invite you. I want to interview you. Most likely that agent, 9 out of 10 times they're going to say yes. And in return, the value that you could provide to that person is saying, hey, out of this interview, I'll give you a handful of reels so you can post on your content, so you could help you brand yourself. And you're physically giving them something of monetary value that's going to help them grow their brand and potentially convert that into a sell.
Win-win.
And that's a win-win. You create an opportunity. If you have the skill set to create rapport and create a relationship, that's one thing that I mean, technically I could coach people on, but like that's something that you kind of have to have on your own. But for the most part, if you're in sales or you're a business owner, naturally people have that already. So, but we're using a podcast as a icebreaker without feeling really threatened. Yeah. For me, I've been able to leverage it in the sense of creating relationships, business opportunities, and the thing is, like, I could talk about this openly because I come in with the mentality all the time of how could I create a win-win? I don't go in like, what can I get out of you? By default, my value proposition, my strategy to go into a new potential business partnership, a new relationship, I always come in, how can I be value to you? That's it. Like, that's literally it. Like, and this is something I learned from Steven. It's like, what focus on providing the value and anything in life. And dude, like, I have great friends. Like, I have great mentors, like people that I didn't grow up with, dude. Like for me, And this is the reason why I'm looking at your setup and seeing your office. Like, how big is this space?
The building?
Yeah.
Oh, it's 10,000 feet.
Yeah, it's huge, man. And it's like we joked and I said it's like, oh, dude, it's like a Google Incorporated here, dude. So you have a nice setup, and it seems to me, at least visually, like that you're pretty successful and you've been at it for a while. What makes me more proud is the fact that, bro, you're number one, you grew up in Maryville. Number two, you're Latino, Hispanic, whatever you want to call yourself. We're brown, bro, and we don't have that. We don't have that representation, dude. For me, being able to create content, being able to I get paid literally to interview people. Like one of my biggest, I guess somebody that I grew up watching there was a show called Saved by the Bell in the 90s. And somebody I looked up to, and I was like I was super jacked when I was like 16, 14. I'm still lifting weights and whatnot to this day. And Mario Lopez. AC Slater, dude. Like that was
he's in really good shape.
Yeah, he's 49 and he has like abs, and he gets paid to interview people. He's on E, and then he's like I saw him as a spokesman for like La Curaçao or whatever.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, like I want to be like that. So I the last couple weeks I've been on a diet. I lost some weight. Yeah, I'm like I'm trying.
He does a lot of boxing.
Yeah, dude. So I'm trying to get leaned out. But the cool thing about it is like with faith and the right mindset. About a month and a half ago, I told my marketing director, Deshelle. Hi, Deshelle. I told her, watch Deshelle. People are gonna start hiring me to interview people on location. So we were doing I get paid to interview podcast people that want to start their own podcast and they need support. It's an added value that I come in. It's like, oh, I never done it. I'm like, well, cool. I could do kind of like a warm introduction. And then from there, you kind of take over and you bring in the guests. And that's the value proposition I bring in. So I get paid for that. But then I thought about like, dude, I'm going to get paid to interview people. So literally I think it was like about a month and a half ago, a good friend of mine, he is a team lead for a big real estate team. And he told me, hey, Ben, I want you. Sorry. I want you to come to my customer appreciation. They ran out a whole theater room and we set up the cameras. And I just literally said like, hey, what's the reason why you decided to work with Juan Grimaldo, the Grimaldo team? And what's one thing that you liked about them? It was like literally a little testimonial. And I think I did like 10 interviews and I got paid. I'm like, damn, this is so cool. And then I went to some business networking deal and they hired me to go interview a bunch of entrepreneurs. The same thing now. It's like I created this new service, like which I guess people need it. Which in general, everybody needs marketing. So that's pretty much they're like 45, 60 second
like testimonies,
like a little for the businesses. I just tell them like, hey, tell me your name of your business. What do you specialize or what service do you offer, and how could people find you? It's like a little 45-second mini commercial.
Oh wow.
And so I get paid to do that as well. And that's a new service. But I said it, I called it. But I believe this, man. That and this is the craziest thing that most of my greatest business ideas come to me at 3 a.m.
Love it.
And it's around 3:10, 3:11, 3:15. And I was almost gonna say 3:16, right? Like, and I feel that these ideas come to me at that time, and I wake up randomly and I have to write them down. 9 out of 10 ideas that I implement that come to me out of those dreams, I get the exact results that I envision.
Nice.
That whole watch the shell. I'm gonna get hired to do these interviews. People are gonna hire me to do that, and exactly how I envision it was gonna look like, it happened. And I get hired. But I can't say like, oh, there's no ego behind it. I say that confidently because it came from the Lord, dude. I truly believe that. And so everything that I'm doing, this media company, me getting in front of the camera, even my online persona, Ben the creator, it's so cool that I did an interview earlier for my podcast show with Abogado Ray, and he's an immigration attorney, and he's one of the big attorney law firms here, and he's also Latino. We had the interview, and it was cool like that. I was able to connect with people like that. Now I get to interview. I interview you. This is my first interview, but yeah, I get to connect with you, and I get to meet somebody like you, man. Like this is dope, dude. I'm super excited about that.
I like that you recognize bringing value to others, right? Because when you bring value, that's what people are looking for. Mm-hmm. And everyone has selfish tendencies. I don't care who you are. Yeah. You can be watching this and be like, oh no, I don't. Yeah, you do. Let's break down your life, and I'll tell you everywhere you have self. I do, you do, he does, everybody does. So we want value, right? So if you bring value to my life, I love it. I don't need you to pay me. I just need to bring value. Like you said, if we're friends, be the best friend. If you're gonna serve me water, make sure it's cold with a lemon. Whatever, bring value, right? And so a lot of people don't get that though. A lot of people so we have these selfish tendencies, and I think successful people, super successful people, learn to kind of utilize those in a certain way. Yeah. And I think people like entrepreneurs will learn to utilize those things in a certain way. And until you learn that you want something more in life, then you don't utilize it in a certain way. So then you start thinking, well, it's owed to me. So the selfishness becomes it's owed to me. For us, say you and I, the selfishness becomes is, how do I bring value to you because it makes me feel good? Mm. That's selfish. That's what makes me feel good because I'm going to give. I love to give. It makes me feel good. That's selfish. It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
But we're doing it for a purpose. Yeah. On purpose, right? Yeah. We're not doing it because we want to just get something, right? So we know we have to give something for the whole thing, the interaction, the exchange. It's sowing seeds, reaping and sowing. This is biblical. This exchange starts with giving something of value, just like you said. I love it. And I think that's why that you're reaping and you're getting, all these things are happening in your life. And we're kind of talking like biblical almost, but like these things are happening in your life because you understand is you're placing value and you're giving it, right? So there's it's an exchange of currency. So your time becomes currency, right? Mm-hmm. Your time is valuable, right? And so it's an exchange, right? And so when you give something, you get something, right? And so when you give something, people like that. Yeah. And that's why you're meeting different people. That's why things are happening because God's going to only give us what we can handle. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. I mean, some people get lucky, right? And they get a lot. And you're like, oh my God, what are they doing with that? Like, they're super lucky. It is what it is, right? Some keep it, some lose it, right? But I love that. I love, you said the win-win because I think everything has to be a win-win, and it's hard to do a win-win, but a win-win is when we're both comfortable, right? Because technically, if you say someone wins, then there's always a loser, right? But if a win-win happens, then we're meeting in the middle. Yeah. That's a win-win. So it's like 50-50 kind of type thing. Not a 60-40 or 70-30. There could be that exchange, right? But I think like, we're supposed to let people win at certain times. You know what I mean? That's bringing value. Yeah. Right? Think about if you're dealing with someone and they're going through a hard time and you're just going to crush them just because so you can win. There's no value in that. Have we done it? I'm sure we have. Right? I know I have right, in the past. And I was at home and my daughter, my youngest, she was like, so I have like my back's kind of jacked up right now. And so we're in our movie room, our theater or whatever. And so I go to sit down and there's these big old ottomans and you got to kind of like the couch is like a bed or something. I don't know. It's just massive. And so I'm like crawling super slow, like I'm all in pain. And she's just like, real fast. And she starts laughing at me, right? And then I'm like, you know what? Let's go outside and race. Because I know she's not the greatest athlete, right? And then I start laughing and I'm like, look at me picking on a little girl.
That's so funny. How old is she?
14.
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
That's cool, man.
She's ninth grade. She goes to Great Hearts. So, but like the things you're saying, I love it because for people who are listening, your audience, my audience is, that's why we want to follow you, right? That's why we wanted to bring you on, because the way you believe, it's not about us, it's about others. Yeah. What makes us feel good, giving to others.
Yeah.
Right. Will we be rewarded? Yeah.
Yeah. And to add on to what you're saying right now, one of the things that shifted my mindset recently is, number one, I have zero expectations. And this is where I encourage people, come in with zero expectations. It sounds so weird because one of my biggest, I guess, unofficial mentors it's Gary Vee. And he has this mindset. So it's so funny because you have it on the wall right there, mindset. He says, be intentional with everything you do, but come in with zero expectations. Mm-hmm. It sounds really weird because it kind of contradicts each other. But I come in, anything that I do, I'm intentional, but I come in with zero expectations. Like I have this mindset of mine where I literally say, I always think about, I used to say, oh, worst case scenario, this is going to happen. Well, now I said best case scenario, this is going to happen. So when I first started the media company, I needed to, number one, get the practice with filming podcasts. I hired a speaking coach so she could help me transition into questions better. I overcame a lot of the filler words, the ums and likes and all that stuff. And just so I could.
Maybe I should do that.
Yeah, no, it's worth it, dude. And if you give me permission to give you some feedback, this is the biggest tip I could ever give you, is just be okay with pausing instead of using just like literally pause. And I've done it a couple times. And we're human. I still say
people do it like I do that too.
Yeah. So, but it's cool, dude.
So just pause. Just stop.
Just pause. Yeah. It's normal.
Don't be like
right here. Like I'm doing it right now. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
So, but overall, I came in with that mentality, like, okay, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna do these interviews, and the outcome was I get to practice, I get to create a relationship, and at the other option would be I could create opportunity. But now the other one, if I didn't create opportunity, I wasn't necessarily like, I wasn't bummed out or anything, but now I added best case scenario, I get content. Mm-hmm. And when I started doing these little interviews where I would ask local business owners at a networking event, well, what do you do? What are your services? How could people find you? And I make these videos and I send it out to my editor. They edit it. I pay money for it. And I do a collab post with them. I get to expose their business, give them a shout out, because a lot of people that go to networking events, they're either in the process of growing their business or they're in the startup process, and I want to kind of pay it forward. Mm-hmm. And I started coming with the mentality that it always comes back. There's no question mark like, oh, it's gonna come back. Like it might come back. Like no, it always comes back. And if I come in because of, when was it? I think it was like 2 weeks ago when First Friday. You heard of that event, First Friday?
Yeah.
Downtown? Yep. Okay. Well, I went to First Friday and I was thinking like, okay, I gotta do these interviews. They perform really well. Views, content, engagement, and a lot of the people that I've been doing collabs with, they have told me like, hey man, thanks for your sharing. I got this opportunity, I got this lead, this and that. Like there was a banker that has like 1.3 million in the pipeline because of these short videos that it was huge for them. We normally would charge like about $50 per those videos, but because I charge like $600 for 10 videos, like for those short interviews at networking events. But I'm doing it. I'm paying my editors. Obviously, it's my company. Like I'm not gonna pay 60, but I'm giving them something monetary value that like genuinely does help them out and brings opportunity. But when I went to First Friday, those are people that are set up that are really truly startups. They're getting their feet wet. They're learning how to be entrepreneurs. And I remember, man, like some of these people that I interviewed, they were so grateful. And I came in with the purpose of creating content, but I think it was like 7 interviews in, I realized the trend. They were super grateful. And I remember I interviewed one specific person, and like her eyes almost like teared up because she was so grateful. She was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. The nicest thing." And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I'm just creating content. But then I started breaking it down. I'm like, well, not only that, I'm using my platform. And for some reason right now, Instagram is not for some reason. I know why, because I'm consistent. I post 2 to 3 times, 4 times a day. And the algorithm is like noticing what I'm doing. And I get these little notifications that says, congratulations, you got this, you're a trendsetter. And apparently it's just I'll show you a picture when we finish here, but it gives you, you're a trendsetter, you're using collaborator, you're using like a bunch of different things. It's achievements within Instagram that Instagram is pushing for content creators and people that are just pushing out content because they're competing with TikTok. And because of it, it's pushing my content in front of non-followers. Again, the last 90 days, I was able to reach 42,000 non-followers.
Wow, that's pretty good. And we reached like 5. We need to change something, Antonio.
What's going on, bro? Just kidding.
Man, we're the hire this guy too.
But I'm just kidding, dude. But here's the thing, dude. The biggest thing is collaborating, man.
Yeah.
So like when you have guests here, push it. Hey, man.
You think we should, on these shorts, should we tag that person?
Oh, dude, collaborate with them.
What's that? Is that where you add them, attach them?
Yeah, and you get in front of their audience, and they get.
And we don't do that, huh? We do that on every one of them. Are you sure?
Unless they don't accept it.
Yeah, unless they don't accept it. But push it.
So we got to get people that accept that.
No, but set the expectations.
You know what I was thinking before you came on, because I've had a few like really wealthy people.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. But I'm kind of liking when he had said you were going to come on, and I'm like, well, maybe we should kind of transition this. If we get big people, we get big people, whatever. But
hey, I'm big. Just kidding.
You are. You're headed in the right direction. Yeah, that's definitely. For sure. So, but I'm thinking like kind of what you were saying is, I was thinking, well, maybe we do like I'll call it something, and we bring young entrepreneurs on, because it and what you're saying just takes me back, right? And I was talking about this last week, I think, to JJ, last week's guest, is some people don't want to help the young entrepreneur. Mm-mm. Actually, a lot of people don't want to help them. And then the advice they are getting sucks, right? I know when I was getting advice starting out from people around me, it was like the worst ever. It was all fear-based advice.
Yeah, man.
Like, quit while you're ahead. Okay. Just stupid stuff, right? So, yeah, I was literally thinking, like, how can I... Because, I've been in business for a little bit. I've dealt with a lot of banks, lawyers, like all these things. At least 1,000 contracts we looked over, and you start to get some experience, right? And so if I can help somebody, it's cool.
Yeah.
If we can... give someone exposure and we get exposure, that's a win-win. Mm-hmm. If I can teach someone, hey, don't do that, because here's where it's gonna take you. You know what I mean? That's cool for them, right? But I remember, I was telling him, he's like, in your industry, you probably got a lot of help from other contractors, and specifically in the drywall industry. I'm like, 0, because it's cutthroat. No one wants to help. They don't want to see you. They don't want to see you gain.
Yeah.
So if we can help young people like you're doing, right, it's a win.
Pay it forward, dude. I truly believe that, if you don't get an instant result with that relationship, it's okay, because God's gonna provide.
Yeah.
Like, and I have that. I don't go in with a mentality that that I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna go in with the mentality that I'm gonna give without zero expectation. Mm-hmm. Okay? I'm intentional. All these people that I'm connecting with, that I'm doing these little interviews, is just my face. Like I'm like P Diddy, man. Like I want to be all up in the video, So any opportunity that I have to put Ben the Creator out, like, dude, I'm on it. And this is it. This is my... So when I start the videos, it's like, hey, this is Ben the Creator. And today I'm here with, boom. And that's it. 3 seconds, name dropping. The rest of the video is all about them, their call to action, their product and services. I get either... Sometimes they'll send me pictures of their services and products, send it to the editors, and we do the Alex Hormozy style. So like if it's like, oh, we sell pizza and shakes, and we'll down, like physically get a picture of the pizza and the shakes from your Instagram, and we'll post it on there. So it's like we're visually storytelling like what your service is, and then your call to action is follow us on Instagram. Here's our phone number or website or whatever. Order here, and it's a mini commercial, but it's all about them. And the I guess the selfish thing of side of me is like I get my name out there. That's it.
Well, that's intentional. That's the intentional part.
Exactly.
Because I think like when you're saying that is be intentional, but come in with zero expectations. Some people lose because they're not intentional.
Yeah.
They come in with zero expectations. And the reason why people come in with zero expectations, but they're not intentional, is because they can make an excuse if they lose.
Yep.
Or they can quit if they lose.
Yep.
But having intention means, okay, if I lose, it's okay, but I gain this. It's like kind of like last night, the power went out, right? And it's looking at the bright side. That's being intentional, right?
Yeah.
The power went out, and the guy goes, he came and got his wife from my house, and he goes, he's trying to sell me solar, right? You should have had solar. And I was laughing, and I go, thank God the power went out because I got to save some money on my electricity. You know, it's like, that's the intentional part, is what's the positive outcome of the whole thing? And I think some people make excuses for why they lose and why they quit. It's kind of like saying, I don't need that much money, or I don't need to have that big house, or I don't need to have that car. You know, I don't know why. If I was rich, I wouldn't buy 17 houses. Well, first of all, you wouldn't know. You're not rich.
Yeah.
And that's an excuse because you're not rich. But if you were, you probably would. You know, if you could, you would. Right. So the intentional part says, okay, well, what if? What if we can? What if? What's the, because I think we still have to be positive in everything, right? And not make an excuse or give up. You know what I mean? Because with intention, that's why Gary Vee says it, because it is, if you have zero expectations, that means you can walk away with nothing.
And be okay with it.
Well, no, that's the intentional part. But without intention, you walk away with nothing.
True.
And you're sad and you want to quit and you're done and I hate that person, right? But the intention, that being intentional says, like you said, is, man, that was a good podcast. I got content.
Yeah.
You know what? I screwed this up, but I got this. I screwed that up, but I got that. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's looking at the brighter side of the whole thing.
No, definitely. And I got a couple things to say about this. Like, one of the biggest things that I learned from Steven, my mentor, and my new mentor, one of my other mentors, Ike, is the biggest lesson in life is he said, when it comes to goals in life, always don't ever change the goal. Like, keep your eyes on the prize, but always be flexible with the approach. Like, I'll always be flexible, adapt to whatever situation. As long as like you're on that ride, and if you're coming in this angle, there's the roadblock. All right, cool. I'm gonna figure out this way.
Yeah.
And always be flexible. The other thing too, this is another thing that he told me that I really, really like has stuck to me. He says, if I lose everything today with the skill sets that I have when it comes to building rapport, building relationship, the whole content creation shit, and the podcasting stuff, if I lose everything today, I could literally tomorrow start from zero and build up again, because I already did it. And that's another thing too. The other biggest thing that I'm like, it's made a huge impact. Two things. One this is what I learned from Ike. Shout out to Ike's sandwiches. Like, they have really good sandwiches. And
where are they at?
There's I think they have one. They opened up a new place here, like close by, like in Peoria. Like, I don't know if it's 43rd, but it's close by. I'll tell you the direction.
We got to go to Ike's.
Yeah, we got to go eat. But anyway, so one of the things that he said was this. He says, if you ever want to be the best at anything you do, figure out whoever's doing that in your niche or whatever you're trying to be, be the best podcaster. Yeah. Figure out who's the best podcaster. Obviously, for me, I focus more on the business coaching side. So I'm a big fan of Jay Shetty. I like the funny stuff, controversial stuff from, oh my God, Joe Rogan. Like, he's somebody. So I kind of look up at these people and I take a little bit of everything and I just kind of make my own personality with everything I have. And
learn from. So good. Look at that. Is that a steak sandwich?
Oh yeah, dude. They have a pastrami.
He just messed this all up.
Wagyu,
yeah, that on there.
Yeah, Wagyu pastrami sandwich. Like, that's a new. It's so funny. He on my show he says, dude, I'm gonna come out with the show sandwich that's gonna be worth $20 to say, like, because we're talking about value, like providing value, how being afraid of charging people what you're supposed to be your worth. He says, dude, I'll watch after this. I'm gonna come out with the new sandwich and charge close to $20 because, dude, it's literally like $20, but it's so bomb.
Hey, if you guys go to Ike's, tell me you've seen the Chris Estrada podcast, and you will get a non-discount. But tell him, and maybe I'll get a discount.
For real, see. Now he's cool, man. I'll like when he's in town, bro. I'll hook you up, dude. He's always invited me to doing like sandwich tasting, so I'll let you know about it.
Oh, dude,
and we'll hang out. But anyway, so one of the things that he said is, he says learn, and I really took that serious. Like, so I listen to a lot of Gary Vee. I educate myself when it comes to business, relationships, marketing, and creating organic growth when it comes to building relationships.
Yeah.
The biggest advice he's ever given me, and this is what I'm literally living my life, is that you don't need anybody. And when he said that, I took it to his advice, that tip, but I took it to the next level. He says, you don't need anybody to do anything. And I remember I came at him with a business idea to do a collab, and we're gonna do a pilot pretty soon I'm gonna create the show. I don't know when, so I'm not gonna give too many details, but overall, and I gave him this idea, and he told me, and I was gonna get some other people involved, and he says, Ben, why do you want all these people involved? And I'm like, well, cause like I'm building the brand, the name, and he says, Ben, you don't need anybody, man. Do it yourself. Like, I'm friends with Guy Fieri, and it's like like, and he knows like Steph Curry. He's done collab sandwiches. Like, if you go over there, that he has like literally a bunch of sandwiches with celebrities and sports figures.
Oh, okay.
And this is what he does. But he says, you don't need anybody. He says, you don't even need me. And I'm like, all right, cool, you're right. So now, because of that mindset, is I am actively prospecting. I have a couple big accounts they're floating in the air, but I'm not waiting for him. I'm keep on moving and shaking and doing what I'm doing, and even with him, we're gonna move forward. We're gonna do some projects here. He's gonna hire my company, and I'm gonna be in charge with some podcast stuff that he's gonna do, and we've been doing some stuff already. But even if I lost that account, like, because of his advice, like, I really don't need anything. And I don't say this in a bad way where it's like everybody's disposable. Like, I really don't. In the end, like, all I need is the Lord. Mm-hmm. That's the added thing that I put on there from the advice he took.
Because he was like, his added thing was just a pastrami sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah. But overall, like, that's my thing. Like, when he gave me that advice, like, I took it and that was it. Like, and I just added, you know what? I don't need anybody because I have the Lord will provide.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where I'm at now or where I'm going to be. As long as I do the right thing, I'm honest and transparent, and my intentions are good, dude, the odds of even now, like, when I tell you all this advice about creating relationships by building rapport, and I'm giving everybody the hot sauce, like the hot sauce, the secret sauce, you can't look at me and saying, like, Ben's being shady. I'm like, because what he's doing, he's like creating content for people and collaborating and all that stuff. I'm giving him free marketing. I'm paying out of pocket my marketing team. Like, and like, we literally, that event at First Friday, I did about 22 interviews, 45 seconds in an hour and a half, 2 hours. Paid my editors. We have the content out. I paid money for it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna come at nobody could ever come at me and saying Ben's his tactics are shitty. No, how? Because I'm giving.
Do people do that?
No, they don't. But I'm just saying, like in my head, I know that if anybody did, I'm like, dude, like I'm just giving. Like I come in with the intention of giving, and it's almost like it's that strategy of mine is almost unbreakable. It's non-losing because it starts with giving. Mm-hmm. That's it.
So you don't need anyone to do anything.
Nope. I just need the Lord and just tenacity, consistency, and hustle.
Do you care what people think?
Nope.
So don't care what people think.
It's the art of letting go, man. Like that's one thing that I had to master my first round of depression.
I'm just asking these questions because these are questions that people always ask. People like, you know, and everyone has their own opinion on those. If you need any, you don't need anyone, or you don't care what anyone thinks. So those are questions that people. So if we did a short and said, you don't care what anyone thinks, or you don't need no one, right? That's a short, right? Mm-hmm. And so, can I give you my opinion?
Go ahead. I accept it.
You accept that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you don't need anyone or anything. I think we'll just break it down real quick, because I don't think you need anyone, but I think you got to appreciate what God gives you and Amen. Who he gives you. Because if we want to break this down, because if I said, hey, you don't need anyone, some dude and some girl or whatever, we're like, I don't need no one, mom. Screw you, like, screw you, buddy, screw you, boss, right? So we want to break it down for when we tell, like, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because,
if they snip that portion of it looks horrible. Yeah.
It looks terrible, right? Yeah. And so you don't necessarily need no one, but when God puts someone in your, and your life at that time, God's giving them to you for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to actually nourish that relationship, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't necessarily need no one, but you absolutely need them, because God put them in your life for a reason. Mm-hmm. And so you have to actually, when you nourish that, you're watering that, right? So if you stop watering that, that dies, and that says, hey, God, I don't need you either, right? So we want to be real careful with how we're placing our words and the thoughts when you're going to talk to somebody, right?
No, and you're absolutely right. Like I now that we're saying this out loud.
So we're going to reframe your stuff and call Guy.
Yeah. No, I definitely, no, I agree, because my mindset is I don't need haters.
That's different.
That's what I meant. Like people that don't see the value in me, that don't want to hire me for whatever reason, whatever personal things. That's to clarify. Like, I guess, thank you for that. I'm one thing about having a coach and mentors is that they'll tell you how it is, and it doesn't matter if you are a multi-million-dollar company coach or, you know, Tony Robbins coach, and I take advice, man. Mm-hmm. Like you're not that, like I'm in 35. You only beat me by what, 3 years, 8 years, 8 years?
I'll be 43. Yeah.
43. Yeah. So you're not that older than me, but like I respect you, and you live life, and you've been an entrepreneur for a while, and I see what you built on your own, dude. I'm gonna fucking take that advice. And so I'm open-minded, and I never wanted to be that. Well, I'm not super young, but that young guy that thinks he's knows everything, which I don't.
Well, you're not young in age. You are young in age compared to 80-year-olds, but
that's true.
You're young in podcast world and entrepreneurship.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're still young in that world.
And I'm a student of life, and when I invite people on my podcast, and I get people like you, people that have successful businesses, entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, and I learn. Like I ask you stuff about marketing, business, mindset, and all that, because I'm learning, and it's like I create content. My core audience, people that follow me, they're all, for the most part, 90% of them, they're all business owners, entrepreneurs. You got to know your core audience, and that's the content that I create.
Okay, so we're gonna go to your other statement, because this, you don't care what people think, right? So let's just reframe that, right? Because again, we're going to get the kid that's watching, be like, I don't care what you think, Dad. That was me, actually. I was all this. And so we want to reframe that, right? And say, hey, I don't care what the haters think, right? Because the reality is you care what your audience thinks,
True.
Because you're creating content for your audience, right? I have customers, you have customers. We care what they think. We care what our wives think. We care what our kids think. My kids are older. I can tell them to pound sand, but I still care what I care what their opinion is. If I'm being a jerk or if whatever, I care what their opinion is, right? So we care what people think. Now the question is should we like indulge in that thought? Like, you know, so if I care what you think, right? Now I don't have to agree with what you think, right? So if I agree with what you think and you say, hey, Chris, you're a piece of crap, and I agree with it, now I'm indulging in it and I'm like, oh man, I'm a piece of crap. I'm gonna start spiraling downhill, right? So we have to still care what people think, value their opinion. Now, whether we want to like receive that word or their opinion, that's a whole nother ballgame, right? Because if someone tells you something that doesn't align with how you're living your life, you're like, listen, I value your opinion, but that's your opinion. But I think it's too aggressive. Like I used to be like this. I didn't care what no one thought and everything. And it literally led me down a bad path because then one care, it leads on, right? And then next, you know, you don't care about anything, anyone, right? So it's like, so we have to care. Now what we care about, we pick and choose, right? So I think for the audience is pick and choose what you care about, right? And you don't always have to like care about how they said it, you know. You got to take it for a grain of salt, right? So like I can be like, man, you suck. And you'd be like, I don't care what you think. Well, maybe I'm saying it for a reason, right? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just a hater. But we still have to listen, right? And so I just wanted to clarify that stuff because I think sometimes what happens is we get in this habit of thinking these ways and creating this thought process and this lifestyle, and it's like, is it really how we live our lives? You know what I mean? Because I used to not care what anyone thinks or thought, but now I have to. You know what I mean? Because I have too many people around me. The more and more I grow, the more and more as I grow in this entrepreneurial world and in the church world or whatever, I care more and more. Yeah. You know, because like, I value what people are saying now, whether it's right or wrong, because now I'm like, okay, I'll listen. I'll listen, you know, because if I didn't care, when I didn't care, I didn't listen. And then next thing you know, everyone was calling me a know-it-all, you know, and I do think I know it all right now. I do. No. But then I'm getting bashed for not caring. You know what I mean? So it's like, you be tough or not tough, or, you know.
Just to kind of clarify, like the add on what you're saying right now, it's when I say I don't care what people think, is in the sense of when I go into a meeting and I meet with the millionaire, or whoever, and I'm wearing just jeans and a t-shirt or a V-neck or a polo, and they come in with the suit, like, this is who I am, and I know where my core values are. I am a nice person. I am a good person. I'm a man of God, and I'm generous, and like I know who I am, and I'm not gonna change who my core as who Ben represents for anybody, and that doesn't mean that, because I'm also open-minded. Yeah, I have coaches and mentors, and I'm always learning, but overall, like if you tell me like, hey, you shouldn't be talking about God on it, like it's kind of weird, or people are gonna get offended, I'm like, okay, cool, like that's where I can say, you know what, I don't care, like I respect you in your lifestyle or whatever you live, but for me, this is who I am. I'm not gonna change. Yeah. And when I say I don't care, it doesn't say like, oh, I know everything. It's just more in the sense of I don't care what anybody thinks who Ben represents, but because I'm so confident with myself in the sense that if you came to me and you need support, however, and if I could, I'll give it to you. if you were crying and this is the first time I meet you and you need a hug, I'll fucking hug you.
Yeah.
And if you needed like, hey, like, could we pray together? Like, I'll pray with you. And that's who I am as a man. And if you don't like who I represent, it's like, cool. Like, yeah. you're not, and even because like when I was when was it? I think it was like a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. I was in a state of gratitude because of everything that's been happening in my life. Like every person that has been put in my life that became a friend, to a mentor, to partners, people that I learned from. Like I am self-aware 100% that it is the Lord that made that happen.
Yeah.
And I was in a state of gratitude, and I shared a Bible verse, and I put some music on there, and I think it was like a song from Kanye West, like where he says like God is, and he talked about, you know, praising the Lord, and I was, for a split second I was nervous. What are people gonna think when I post this? Like I you know, in podcasts, or even if you go to one of my little studios that has I have Hebrews 11:1, and it talks about faith, and and people, like, it's there right there. Like when I posted, for a split second, like I said, I thought about, like, will people get offended? I'm like, then I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? Those weren't my clients. So, and that's where I step in, and I'm gonna like really stand up for myself and say, you know what, like, cool, like, doesn't matter. Like, like if I'm the nice guy, because I am, like, growing up in Maryville, bro, number one, dude, I'm, you know, almost 6 feet, like, freaking, I'm over 200 pounds. Like, I did MMA, and I had to throw hands because, like, I was an emotion person. Like, you know, yeah, you saw me crying right now, but don't get me don't get it twisted. Like, I'll throw hands. Like, I'm over 200 pounds, bro. Like, I'll body somebody. Don't underestimate that for you know, my kindness for weakness. Yeah. And that's the thing that, like, I had to deal with. And for a very long time I had to hide that side of me, where now it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'll cry with you, hug you, but also too, like, if shit gets real, like, I'll throw hands, like, or be a great businessman. I'll adapt.
I like it. I love the confidence in you, to tell you the truth, because I think that's crucial. Like, we have to be confident. Mm-hmm. One, in knowing who our God is, but knowing who we are. Yeah. I say something like, you know, God will get you to the door, but your confidence will get you through the door.
Your faith. I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the confidence part. Yeah. Your faith
is your confidence.
That builds your confidence. Mm-hmm. Right. And, so I love that you say that, and you're like, hey man, I can throw hands because you're confident in yourself. You're like, hey, I can go, and you're going to all these events. Mm-hmm. I mean, how hard is that? You know, like, it's hard. Like, you go to a bunch of people you don't know. It's 200 people.
Easy. Yeah, it's easy for me, dude.
Well, yeah, but regular people won't do it.
Mm-hmm, it's true.
You have to have a level of confidence. Yeah. Right. You know, I mean, that's the truth.
Yeah.
You know, and so, like, I love that. Like, you're telling me this, I'm seeing it. Yeah, I corrected you on 2 things just because I want to save I appreciate it. Life.
I'm so grateful, dude. I know these reels. I know that's why it's so social media. It's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, and they'll be like, dude, we got, like, we're going long, but
yeah.
So some guy that we always get, someone that, like, will message us. I don't know if you get it, and they'll be like trying to tell us how we're wrong and how we said something wrong and, like, something dumb, and then I have to, like, message them back and say, listen, did you watch the whole video? Did you watch the whole podcast on YouTube? Did you happen to watch it before and after this clip? Oh no, please go watch it first. Actually start at 11:39 and go to 15:70, you know, 15:59 or whatever, and then tell me what you think, and we can discuss this. You know, it's like, don't go and jump off to a conclusion without knowing the facts, right? And that's what people do. They want to jump to a conclusion, or they grab one thing, especially in, like, our world, like the podcast. Mm-hmm. They grab one thing and, like, I'm gonna run with it, you know, and they don't know the rest of it. Like, You know what I mean? It's like, what's the rest of it? What's the rest of it say? What's the rest of that thought process? The rest of your thought process that you say, the rest of mine, right? So I love it. This is really good, man. Like,
I'm excited,
you're coming
dude.
through hardcore, bro.
I know. I think I kind of just unloaded, to be honest. Like everything, dude.
I thought you were gonna punch me right now, bro. I was like, holy Jesus, this guy's MMA and everything.
That's funny, dude.
What school did you go to in Maryville?
Jamestown about prep. It was in the, like, it was a charter school, man.
What's that? Where's that at?
Exactly. It's on 67th and Indian School.
Is that where you were throwing hands?
Yeah, I did.
67th and Indians?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
there's like Peter Piper. Like there's a Peter Piper around there. And
51st is a Peter Piper.
Is it?
Yeah, 51st Avenue. I grew up in Maryville. 47th.
No. There's
67th?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. Maybe it's there now.
Yeah.
Is it in the plaza? Like,
yep. That's 67th Indian School.
Let me see. Let me think.
And there was like a church behind there, and there's a carniceria there, bro. And
okay. Yes, you're right. Yeah, I know exactly. And Peter Piper's in the corner of the plaza.
Yeah, my mom didn't want me to go to. I was supposed to go to Trevor.
Oh yeah.
And the time that I was supposed to go, there was a lot of like race riots, and my mom was like, "Nope, you're going to a charter school." But the charter school is like the kids that get out of regular high school.
Did you go to what grade school did you go to?
Another charter school. Like they actually shut down. I think it was called Omega Academy or something like that. That was on 51st and McDowell.
Was that like all of grade school or something?
Yeah.
Or? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Like pre-K to 8th grade or something.
So did you live near 51st and McDowell?
Yep. I lived on 71st Avenue in McDowell for the most part of my life.
Oh, by the mall.
Yeah.
By the mall.
Desert Sky.
What was called Westridge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's it. You're more old school than me.
Yeah.
I knew it's Desert Sky.
It was called Westridge. Yeah. When I was little, we used to go there all the time.
The arcades. That was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little older. So, okay. So as we wrap up, what's one piece of advice you'd give someone starting out a podcast and creating content, because this is your world? What's one piece of advice, or two or three, whatever you want?
Okay. Number one, don't care. No, I'm just kidding.
Stop caring now. Just put whatever you want.
I'm kidding.
You don't want to get kicked off before you start, right?
I know, right? No, the number one advice I would give is, well, actually a couple. Be consistent.
Yeah. Don't
give up. That any time that you go through any rough patch or any obstacles in life, they're not forever. And everything that happens in life is temporary, like the good and the bad. And when you're in the moment that you are in the good, make sure that you maximize and capitalize on it. Business opportunities, relationships. But when the bad times come, I saw a clip with the I think it was Tom Hanks, and he says like this shall pass. He talked about like when things are good, money's high, this shall pass, because everything's temporary. But the moments when you're in the high, they just capitalize and maximize it, and just have faith in yourself, and just don't ever give up.
Yeah, I love it. Be consistent. Don't give up. Maximize and capitalize. I tell our team is be efficient and effective. That's in that same world.
Yep.
Be efficient and effective. So there it is, guys. Be consistent. Don't give up with Mr. Ben, the creator. Man, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, man.
This is really cool. We got to dig in and really like just go deep on some thoughts and your story, your life. What a great story, and you're here doing it, man. Super proud to have met you, and I think we're going to keep a relationship.
Oh, definitely.
I think we'll grow together and lean on each other in this world,
Yeah, you need anything, I got you, man.
Unless you want to come do some construction.
I'm good.
So I appreciate it, and thank you for your time, man.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate it.